Hey everybody! Today what I want to talk about is setting boundaries. And once again, it's another Mommobile video for you. And this time I'm double black diamonding because I'm making the video and driving myself to the airport at the same time. Holy cow, look at me. So apologies if you don't see me looking directly into the camera, because I can't do it unless I'm at a stoplight, which I am right now. So let's talk about boundaries. There is a phenomenal therapist that I love, and I feel like every time I listen to this guy talk about parenting and discipline and relationships, I feel like every other sentence he says is like a mic drop moment. And the other day I wrote down something that he said, which was amazing, and his name is Reedy, by the way, in case you want to follow him like I do. He said, not setting boundaries is basically saying that having a relationship is more important than having a self. I'm going to say that one more time. When we choose not to have boundaries in our relationships, including our relationships with our children, we are saying that having a relationship is more important than having a self. So think about what that means, and even think about if you agree with that or not. But let's just say that it is true, that when we don't set boundaries, we are saying that having a relationship is more important than having a self. That gets really tricky with parenting, doesn't it? Because, some parents, I think, would say my relationship with my child is the most important thing to me. In fact, if I had to choose, I don't know what I would choose. My relationship with my child or myself? Gosh, I think our society even teaches us in direct and maybe subtle ways that to put yourself before your child is actually kind of a sin almost. And that, a mother's especially, but a parent's job is to sacrifice themselves for their child. Now, I personally don't agree with that, but I had to do a lot of my own personal work to get to a place where I can say confidently with clarity, that's actually not my job, and I actually think it's a detriment to my child to behave that way, and I disagree with that. But I think a lot of us either do blatantly agree with that idea that we're supposed to sacrifice ourselves for our children, or we might not outwardly agree with that idea, but the way we behave shows that we probably do have an inner belief that is true, or that we maybe be ashamed of ourselves if we didn't put our kids above ourselves or before ourselves. But here's the other thing that's so tricky about this quote. Okay, so having a relationship is more important than having a self. If that is true, if that's what we are saying and doing by not setting boundaries with our children, how on earth can they have a relationship with us if we're nothing, if we're nobody, if we've completely lost ourselves, if we have nothing, if we are nothing, because we've completely abandoned and relinquished our sense of self, our identities? How do you even have a relationship with that person? So our relationship might be the most important thing, and it's impossible for our child to have a relationship with something that is ephemeral, ever-changing, not really real, maybe not even there anymore. So in this really weird paradoxical way, we're kind of setting ourselves up to have neither a self nor a relationship when we don't set boundaries with our children. And that is so profound. To me, that is everything. And how many parents do you know, and I can't tell you how many, especially mothers, I talk to every day who say something like, I've completely lost myself after I had kids. I don't even know who I am anymore. I ask my clients simple questions when we first meet, things like, if everything were going perfectly for you, what would your life outside of motherhood look like? And I wish I could tell you how many people's answer to that question is basically like, life outside of motherhood, or I have no idea, or I can't even begin to answer that question. It is so normal. It's so common for us to lose ourselves in parenthood. And in so doing, we have become this I almost visualize it in my head as this wisp of smoke that our kids are trying to create a relationship with and attach to, because that's what's happening. That is what all children come into this world programmed to do. create an attachment to a parental figure. That is what they are trying to do. And all of the stuff that we teach as parenting professionals to our clients is designed to help remove any obstacles that get in the way of kids creating a healthy attachment with us. Well, guess what? It's really, really hard to create a healthy attachment with something that doesn't exist. If you're trying to create an attachment with a parent who doesn't even have a sense of self, who isn't their own person, who doesn't have anything except their relationship with us, that's really tricky. And an attachment will be made, but will it be a healthy attachment? Not really, probably. So this all comes back to boundaries. How crazy is that? How is that we are creating a sense of self through the boundaries we set? And when we don't create boundaries with our kids, we are sacrificing ourselves and losing our sense of self. And how could it be that by creating boundaries with our children, it's actually one of the most important things to do to preserve a healthy relationship with them and create the opportunity for them to form a healthy attachment? This is such an interesting concept to me. And I want everybody to just kind of think about it and ponder it. Decide for yourself, does this make sense? Where in my life am I not setting boundaries? And what would it be like to set boundaries in that area? And let's specifically talk about in our relationships with our kids. And I'm not talking about just older kids. I don't care if your kid is 2 or 12 or 20. It doesn't matter. Boundaries are the foundation for a healthy relationship. And we do not want to be sending the message to our kids that our relationship with them is more important than our own sense of self. Because kids learn through our modeling. And by parenting that way, we are teaching them to grow up and sacrifice themselves and not have a sense of self for themselves, and to put other people and their relationships with other people ahead of anything else. And it's just simply not right. It's not healthy. So think about how setting boundaries might actually be this avenue to a much deeper and more profound and healthier relationship between you and your kiddo, and how setting those boundaries actually models something really, really healthy and amazing for your kids. And last thing I want to say about this whole boundaries and sense of self, is your relationship with your child more important than your sense of self, than having a self? Because remember what that originally said, is that when we don't set boundaries, we are saying that having a relationship is more important than having a sense of self, or just having a self. If you know in your heart of hearts that you either do value having a self, need to get back to valuing having a self, maybe have lost yourself and need to reconnect with that self, this is what doing something like the Awaken the Wise Mama retreat in October is all about. It is all about saying, hang on, wait a second. Having a self is far more important than all of the things that are happening outside of me, even my relationship with my kiddo. And having a self isn't just important because it's important to me, it's important because it's the magical and most important ingredient to having that relationship that I want with those people outside of me, including my child. Taking some space, pampering yourself, having a good time, spending time with yourself without interruption, without kids badgering you, without people needing Cheerios and yogurt and driving them around and all of that stuff. Giving yourself back yourself is huge. And if you're not doing that in your life, you're not only sacrificing yourself, you're sacrificing what your relationship with your kiddo could be. So I really want to encourage you to get that in your life. And of course, I want to encourage you that you get that in your life through this Awaken the Wise Mama retreat, which is going to be phenomenal. I can't tell you how many people are complaining about getting back to school right now, or desperate to get their kids back to school because the summer has completely depleted them. Yeah, it's time for some boundaries. It's time for some self. It's time for both of those things to create way better relationships and dynamics than probably what we've sunk into over the course of the summer. Booking this retreat for yourself is a huge step in that direction. it feels so nice to know, you know what, got back to school ahead of me, and then just right around the corner is this moment that I've set aside for myself to really do what needs to be done for me and have a good time, feel energized and relaxed again, connect with other moms and have so much fun and make amazing friendships, and it's all waiting for me right on the other side of back to school. So 2 spots remain in the retreat. I really encourage you to get in there, get your deposit in now before early bird pricing ends, which is on August 1st. And I can't wait to see you on my doorstep this October, welcoming you in with open arms, lakeside in northern Michigan. It is going to be amazing. So think about the self, think about your relationships, think about boundaries, and then send in your deposit and lock that early bird pricing in for yourself for the retreat. Talk to you all soon. Bye.